What is going on, football fans? I am the Gridiron Guy, bringing you 5 matchups for Week 2. Man, Week 2, I'm excited. I'm excited for Week 2. Week 1 was, okay. It was good. It was good. I was excited that football was back, but I don't think we saw what teams truly are yet. Some teams, it's very evident what they are, and it's very evident what they are not. But there are some teams that need to adjust a few things, get on the same page. So I'm looking forward to some of those teams correcting some things that didn't look too good in Week 1. My first matchup is Ravens-Texans. I feel like this is going to be a good game. I feel like it's going to be a good game. I feel like the Texans have something to prove. They want to prove that they are a top-tier team in the AFC, maybe even in the whole NFL. If they're going to prove that, they're going to need to play well, possibly even beat these Ravens. It's easier said than done, especially since they got torched last week. So in Week 1, Desean Watson had 20 completions on 32 attempts, 62.5% completion rate, 253 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. It was a good week for him. A lot of those were garbage yards. They were trying to catch up. So it is what it is. On the other side of the ball, Lamar Jackson balled out last week. 20 completions on 25 attempts. 80% completion rate. 275 yards. 3 touchdowns, no picks. Stellar game. It's a pretty damn good game. Ultimately, I am very worried for this Texans defense. This Texans defense could not stop the run last week. Gave up 134 yards to one guy. Clyde Edwards-Helaire ran all over this team last week. So, what are the Ravens going to do? Oh, that's right. The Ravens run the ball. Holy crap. A lot. They run the ball a lot. So if the Texans can't figure this out, it's going to be a long game for Desean Watson because he's going to have to just drop back and pass constantly. He's going to have like 40 attempts, which means the Ravens' defense just be able to pin their ears back and come after him because they know he's going to be throwing a lot because they're going to be behind a lot. And if the Ravens are running the ball well, they're going to tear up the clock, which means there's going to be more pressure on Watson in that offense to be explosive and score evenly with the Ravens. You don't want to score too quickly all the time because they're going to hold the ball and they're going to beat your defense up. So if you send your defense right back out there to deal with them, you're also going to hurt your own team. So they're going to have to sustain some drives. They're going to have 8, 9, 10, 12 play drives of their own just to keep their defense on the sideline as much as possible. They're going to have to control the clock as well. And I don't know if they can do that. Not against this defense. This defense is tough. And like I said before, this Texans offense has like 4 number 2 receivers. They don't have a clear number 1. And it was pretty clear that they were lacking and missing DeAndre Hopkins last week. I think the Texans put up a good fight, but ultimately, I have the Ravens winning pretty convincingly, 35-24. These Ravens can put up points like crazy. I don't think the Texans stand a chance. To be honest with you, I really don't. If they can't stop the run, they're screwed. Bottom line, my next matchup is Patriots Seahawks. This is an exciting game. We got Cam Newton going against Russell Wilson. I love Russell Wilson. He's a good quarterback. I really like Russell Wilson. Cam Newton, whatever. Never really had any feelings toward him either way. Cam Newton had 15 completions on 19 attempts, 78% completion rate, 155 yards last week. No touchdowns, no picks. But, and I figured I should put this in there because I'm not normally going to put in rushing yards, but he did have a heck of a game on the ground as well. So it's also kind of showing that the Patriots might use him heavily in that way. He had 15 attempts for 75 yards and 2 touchdowns on the ground. Those are good running back numbers. So compile that with his 15 completions and 19 attempts and another 155 yards. He had a pretty good game. He had 230 yards total and 2 touchdowns. Now, the Patriots looked good against Miami, but it's Miami. So I don't put much stock in that. Seahawks. By the way, Seahawks Patriots both 1-0. Both 1-0. Russell Wilson, 31 completions, 35 attempts, 88.5 completion percentage, 322 yards, 4 touchdowns, no picks. That's a monster game. That's a monster game. That's balling out right there. 300-yard game, 4 touchdowns. And he did it on 35 attempts. He completed 31 of them. 4 incomplete passes. Destroyed that Falcons defense last week. I think Russell Wilson will have success against this defense ultimately. I don't see I was not super impressed by the Patriots when I watched their game. I was not. Cam Newton is what he is. You know, can he lead them to victories? Absolutely. But let's see how he does against other elite quarterbacks and elite defenses. Even though that Seahawks defense did give up a lot of points and a lot of yards. Give up a lot of yards. Matt Ryan had like 355 yards, something like that. Something crazy like that. He's the passing leader right now. And he went against the Seahawks defense. So leave it up to Bill Belichick to find a weakness on that defense and exploit it. But ultimately, I'm going with the Seahawks 28-27. Seahawks win. I think it's going to be a good game, but I think Seahawks win that game. Next matchup, Bengals Browns. I know it's a little weird I picked this one, but it's a Thursday night game. It's a rivalry game. It's the battle for Ohio. Both teams are 0-1. Both teams. Man. The Browns got torched by the Ravens. And the Bengals did everything they could to win that game against the Chargers, except win the game. They played a pretty good game. They left some points on the board. When it comes down to it, the Bengals could have won their game. Let's move on, though. Joe Burrow, first NFL game, 23 completions on 36 attempts, 63.9 completion percentage, 193 yards, no touchdowns, 1 pick. But he did have a rushing touchdown. Rushed for like 18 yards for a touchdown. It was actually a pretty good run. But I'm not going to get down on him. It was his very first NFL game with no preseason. This was like his first preseason game. A lot went wrong in the Bengals game. Let's see. They had a couple shots at the end zone. Didn't get it in the end zone. That's rough. When they missed 2 touchdowns, just balls that one Burrow overthrew. The other one, A.J. Green couldn't come down with it. But, man, that hurts. That hurts for a young quarterback who is just trying to win his first game. But ultimately, those 2 touchdown misses had to become field goals. And that's why they lost. Well, that and Joe Mixon never fumbles. That's what the commentator said. He never fumbles. So it's rare. I'm sure he's fumbled before. I'll have to look that stat up, but I'm sure he's fumbled before. But he fumbles in Charger territory. The Chargers scooped it right up, drove 30 yards, got a go-ahead score after the Bengals defense was holding them down, holding them to 3 points. That Mixon fumble gave away the game. So the Bengals played well, but they also shot themselves in the foot, if that can be said. I think they will continue to play well. Not only that, but despite everything, they still had a chance to win the game in the end. Burrow drives down the field, gets them all the way down there into field goal range, and they missed the field goal to lose the game. That's rough. That's a rough first game in the NFL. That really is. But how are the Browns doing? Oh, goodness. Baker Mayfield. Wow. What can I say about Baker Mayfield? I sort of like Baker Mayfield, though. I just wish he played better. Not a Browns fan. I just wish he played better. I want him to succeed. I really do. He had 21 completions on 39 attempts. That's rough. That's 18 incompletions, and it's almost as many incompletions as completions. 53% completion rate, 189 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. It's a lackluster game. To say the Browns struggled is an understatement. They got their butts handed to them. I don't know what's wrong with this team. It is severely underachieving. That defense has got some talent on it. That offense has a lot of talent on it. They have 2 stud running backs. 2 really good receivers, a good tight end, decent offensive line. I don't think that's the problem, though. That offensive line is serviceable. But, man, 6 points. I understand it's the Ravens' defense, and you got Lamar Jackson on the other side running up and down the field. But still, just 6 points. They missed an extra point. That's why they only got 6 points. They couldn't even score twice. Now, if they couldn't even score against the Ravens defense, and the Bengals defense played pretty good against a pretty good Chargers defense, I don't know if the Browns have what it takes to come out and win this game. Now, on the other side of the ball, Bengals make a lot of mistakes. So, or, if they were more perfect, they would have won that game. They made one less mistake, like a Mixon fumble or Burrow hitting A.J. Green in the end zone or John Ross in the end zone. He overthrew John Ross. That's a heck of an arm, I guess. But if they make one less mistake, I think they win that game. So, moving on, I think the Bengals do pull this game out, but not by much. 21-20 is the score I'm thinking. Bengals win. Now, it's at Browns, but no fans, so I don't think that's much of a factor, especially since the other team is just coming from Cincinnati. Not traveling far either. Probably going to travel on game day. But it is a Thursday game. It's a quick turnaround. But I ultimately think the Browns have more problems than the Bengals do. The Bengals can fix theirs easily. I don't know what's wrong with the Browns. Moving on to my third matchup. Another battle of the unwinnables? I don't know. 2 teams that didn't win. We have the Vikings and the Colts, both 0-1. Both teams have a lot to prove. Both teams have to prove that some of their offseason decisions are ultimately the right ones, like the Vikings giving up Stephon Diggs. Now, if you saw my last video, I said I think the Vikings may miss Stephon Diggs because they were unable to keep up with the Packers, period. Unable to keep up with them. So they have to prove that that was the right decision by going out and winning some games, maybe even win some shootouts where Stephon Diggs probably wouldn't have been a factor anyway, So that's what the Vikings offseason decision was. Kirk Cousins had 19 attempts, 25 completions, 76.0 completion percentage, 259 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. He had a pretty good game, but they didn't win and they couldn't keep up with the Packers. So ultimately, the Vikings need to prove that getting rid of Stephon Diggs was beneficial to their team. Moving over to the other side. I'm a Raiders fan. So, and I like the Colts. So when the Colts got Phillip Rivers, I was like, man, what are they doing? So the Chargers let Phillip Rivers go. And the Colts go out and get Phillip Rivers when they have Jacoby Brissett already on their roster. Now, I understand losing Andrew Luck was hard. I get that. But Phillip Rivers is not your answer. Phillip Rivers, 36 completions, 46 attempts, 78% completion rate, 363 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 picks. I literally wrote this down. Same old Rivers, throwing tons of yards and a bunch of picks. Yep. And you go out and get Rivers. What is wrong with you, Colts? I like the Colts. I want to like the Colts, but I will not like Phillip Rivers. I don't like anything about his game. So here's a crazy matchup in this. The Vikings defense got torched by Aaron Rodgers. Now, like I just said, Phillip Rivers throws the ball a lot, gets a lot of yards, but you can pretty much rely on him to throw at least 1 pick a game. You can even almost rely on him to throw 2 picks a game. So if that Vikings defense wants to make a play, it's going to need to be when the ball leaves Phillip Rivers' hand, basically, because they got torched by Aaron Rodgers. So they're going to need to make some stops, get some interceptions on Phillip Rivers, even just give themselves a chance. The Colts have Marlon Mack out for the season. That's going to hurt, but Jonathan Taylor's there. I don't see them really missing a beat. Jonathan Taylor can tote the rock. He proved that in college. So it's a strength on strength, weakness on weakness game, okay? Now, I thought I'd never say this, but the Colts defense is their strength. The Vikings offense is their strength because their defense couldn't stop anybody last week. So, strength on strength, I think the Colts defense is better than the Vikings offense. At this point, if the Vikings offense can't figure it out, maybe it was just the tackling. Maybe it was just tackling because it was week 1. Every commentator kept saying, oh, these guys, tackling's going to be ugly because they haven't really tackled anybody in a whole year. And okay, I'll buy that for a week, maybe 2. But that Vikings defense has got some young pieces in the secondary, so we'll see how that goes. But strength on strength, I give the nod to the Colts defense. That Colts defense is pretty damn good. And then the weakness on weakness is the Colts offense with Phillip Rivers at the helm. They had Jacoby Brissett. I'd probably be a little more excited about it, but Phillip Rivers is just not – he's not your answer. And the Colts need to prove that he is the answer, and that's going to be tough to do when he's throwing 2 picks a game. But anyway, the Colts offense against the Vikings defense, I think that's a weakness on weakness. Which one can make more plays? Is Phillip Rivers going to throw picks? Probably going to throw picks. So see how that goes. I don't know. But I do think, bottom line, the Colts will make more plays and end up winning this game. Besides, it's also at Indianapolis. So I have the Colts winning 28-24. Just not a big fan of what the Vikings did in that Week 1 matchup against the Packers. It just is what it is. Now, this game's got me excited because I'm a Raiders fan. And I wanted to showcase this game. I left the Raiders out of last week because they're just playing Carolina. And the game really didn't really have that much of a build-up. You know, we didn't know what we were going to get at either team. But Saints 1-0, Raiders 1-0, Monday Night Football. I will be watching. Like I said, I'm a Raiders fan. I love my Raiders. Love Derek Carr, just so you know where I stand on that. Because there are a lot of Raider fans that do not. I'm a huge Derek Carr fan. Derek Carr, I got your back. Drew Brees, 18 completions, 30 attempts, 60% completion percentage, 160 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. That's very un-Brees-like to just have 160 yards. You know, the volume was there, but he just didn't have a ton of yards, which maybe they weren't throwing the ball down the field a lot, or maybe they were running the ball more. They still did have 30 attempts. That's probably 2/3 of their plays, at least half. Now, they did run the ball a lot. They ran the ball well enough to where they didn't need to throw. That's why they didn't throw a lot. The defense looks tough. They were sticky in coverage. They were all over those Tampa Bay receivers. They really gave Tom Brady a hard time. Really did. They got after him. And they were sticky in coverage. Not to mention, either Tom Brady was just off, or they threw him off, or both. But he did not look like Tom Brady. And I think it was the defense and him not being on the same page with his receivers a ton. The Saints lost Michael Thomas. Now, I've seen some reports that the Saints are saying Michael Thomas will definitely miss Monday Night Football. But Michael Thomas is saying, I don't think so. So I don't know. I don't really know what to think about that. I think if Michael Thomas isn't there, it's better for the Raiders. If he is there, it's bad for the Raiders. The Raiders have some young corners. One got burned this past week. They just messed up on a coverage. Growing pains, right? But I do think the Raiders can hold their own in this game. I think it will be competitive. It's a Monday night game. It is the first game in the Las Vegas era, the first home game. We won our first game. Now it's time to win the first home game. So there is that pressure on the Raiders to win that first home game. Okay? Derek Carr's numbers. Pretty good, though. Pretty good. I'm happy with these. 22 completions on 30 attempts. 73.3 completion percentage. 239 yards. 1 touchdown. No interceptions. That's important. No interceptions. No turnovers from Derek Carr. Not that he's a turnover machine, but no turnovers. That's good. He took care of the football. Now, Josh Jacobs, beast. 93 yards, 3 touchdowns. Who is the touchdown leader, or who is the rushing touchdown leader in the NFL right now? Josh Jacobs. 3 touchdowns. Nobody else had 3 touchdowns. So he's the leader. Against the Saints, that defense worries me. the Raiders defense worries me because they kind of had this bend but don't break mentality, which they pretty much bent all the way down until the last play of the game. Literally, one of the last plays of the game, they had a 4th down stop, a 4th and 1 stop against the Panthers. And I give the Raiders more credit than some other teams would because they're like, oh, they couldn't even do well against the Panthers, who picked 8th last year in the draft and, couldn't stop the run and couldn't protect the quarterback. I watched the entire game. I've watched it 3 times. And that Panthers team is much improved. Teddy Bridgewater at the helm. Teddy Bridgewater, we all know Teddy Bridgewater can play football. Filled in for Drew Brees for 6 games last year. We know Teddy Bridgewater can play football. He takes care of the football. He spreads it around. They had Christian McCaffrey in the backfield. Threw him some passes. It was a pretty efficient game by the Panthers. Not to mention, the Raiders had no tape on anything that the Panthers were going to run. What kind of offense? What kind of gimmick plays? Who they going to use for motion? They didn't know anything. Anything. They had nothing to go. The only thing they had to go by was college tape of a completely different teams, because they went and they watched LSU tape because the offensive coordinator came from LSU. They went and watched Temple and Baylor tape because the head coach coached in Baylor and in Temple. So ultimately, the Raiders did not know exactly what they were going to run. So with no preseason, that's where you would have gotten some game film. Oh, this is what they're going to run. This is what they're going to do. So I give the Raiders credit for winning that game because they could have got torched by not having a key to stopping certain plays or what the team does best or whatever. If we can beat the Saints at home, huge confidence boost. So that's what I'm going with. I'm going with Raiders win 31-28. Go Raiders. That's my top 5 matchups for week 2. Looking forward to watching these games this week. I'll be back next week to review these games. Hopefully I do as well as I did last week. I went 4-1 if you watched my last video. I'm definitely watching that Raider game. I'm excited for that. First game in Vegas. And let's see how it do. Let's see how this week goes. I'm excited. I'm glad football is back. Finally. Don't forget to subscribe. Watch my videos. Grid-ironGuy. In the future, I'm going to do draft videos. I want to do matchups. I'm going to do whatever I can when I can. So subscribe, hit the notification button to see whenever I upload videos. So I am Grid-ironGuy, and I'm out.